Don't miss Clownfish Studios' latest crowdfunder, Crimson Wren Volume 1 on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Thaddeus Wendell's greatest treasure is out there, and it's up to young mage Crimson Wren and the crew of a rundown airship called the True North to find it. But will they find it in time? Crimson Wren of the True North is a race against the clock filled with action, adventure, comedy, and heart. This is a brand new manga-style graphic novel from Clownfish Studios. Go to crimsonwren.com or check it out on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. It ends on November 18th. That's November 18th. And now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for Space Daddy to snap half of Twitter. Yes, Twitter is having massive layoffs today, and this is just round one. And Twitter employees are very angry. This did not age well. A week ago, they said they were demanding that Elon Musk not fire them. But apparently they're being fired via email.
Okay, firing them via email is kind of crappy. The flip side is they probably just handed him a list of who to fire.
That is my understanding. Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean, by them doing that, they handed him a list?
That's part of it. Of course, he's been cracking the whip on the remaining employees, as we've heard, 12, 14-hour days to try to get this new verification system rolled out. And I think he's testing people to see if they're actually going to work. And if they're going to work, they probably get to stay. If they're not going to work, well, then they're going to have to join Ligma Johnson in the unemployment line.
Well, I'm just going to say that, I think that firing them via email is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
I also think that demanding these ridiculous hours, 7 days a week, is also shitty. I mean, I think people should work, but there's a difference between I went in 4 hours this week and,
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of work-life balance at Twitter. It seems like it's more life balance.
Yeah, and that I don't agree with.
No.
But getting rid of people that, don't show up to work or that are whiny or activist types that just go out and stir up trouble or shadow ban people or things like that, I can completely agree with.
Well, speaking of activists, we're going to talk about this. There has been some recourse, of course, by these Twitter activists. Apparently, advertisers are pulling out because they're being pressured.
Oh, shocker. We haven't seen this before over and over and over again. And advertisers, I'm going to tell you right now, if you pull out because of these mouthpieces of Twitter pressuring you, you're just setting yourself up to always have to bend the knee every time that they want something. And that's a big problem because we keep hearing, because these advertisers are pressured, but it usually turns out it's a handful of people.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the class action lawsuit, which I knew was probably going to happen.
Oh, yeah, that was a given.
So let's talk about all of this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over almost 281,000 subs on YouTube. And you can check us out elsewhere. I was just uploading our archive to Spotify. We've got videos on Spotify. You can check us out over there. I might have to start spending more money promoting our website over on Twitter.
There you go.
Too. There we go, guys. I'm sure our couple $1,000s a month or whatever is really going to help Elon out. But let's talk about the firings first. Twitter plans to fire employees by email. They were going to be notified by email by 9 a.m. today.
Well, that'd be noon.
Hasn't happened yet.
3 minutes.
I'm sure a lot of them, as I understand it, already know who's getting gone. He sent out to all Twitter employees on Thursday evening in the unsigned email. Twitter wrote, in an effort to place Twitter on a healthy path, we will go through the difficult process of reducing our global workforce on Friday. We recognize that this will impact the number of individuals who have made valuable contributions to Twitter, but this action is unfortunately necessary to ensure the company's success moving forward.
Here's the thing you said about this class action lawsuits and stuff. Unless they were not given something they were owed. When a company is sold to somebody else, they come in and often there are cuts. It goes to the territory. If it's about the fact that they were promised things and they didn't get them that were in their contract, that's one thing. If it's because they're salty because they got fired, that's the way it works. I'm sorry. If you don't own your own business, someone buys it, someone comes in, they can fire your ass. especially if you're in a right to work state, which I doubt California is. But,
California, they have, people were talking about the WARN Act, which they have to give people 60 days notice if they're getting laid off. Now, I don't know. Now, Pennsylvania, they can literally fire you for any reason at any time. Florida's that way too. Most of the states, I lived in California for a while, but the WARN Act, I think, is a newer thing. But which is why I think he's probably going to move Twitter to Texas anyway, long term, so he can fire people. And I think that's kind of the point of the lawsuit, is that he did not give people 60 days.
Okay,
notice.
That makes sense then. But this is ridiculous. I'm just scratching my head. So in California, even if you're a shitty worker,
yes,
you get 60 days notice
for layoffs.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's how it works.
I don't know. We're in PA, and if you don't like color your shirt, they can fire you.
They literally can fire you for any reason at any time, and unless you're unionized, and even then, Pennsylvania, for having this reputation for being this blue collar state. I worked at a company that literally the owner sold the company off rather than deal with the union, and then the new owner didn't recognize the union and got rid of a bunch of employees. So anyway, they started getting locked out. The employees started getting locked out Thursday night. They closed the office on Friday. It's a holiday, I guess. And badge access is going to be suspended according to the email. Not that most of them are working in the office anyway, I'm sure. A lot of them were working remotely. Employees were told to look for an email at their personal address, although the former employees said they were still waiting for the email. Earlier this week, Twitter's legal and human resources staff discussed severance payments to around 3,700 employees. That's like half of Twitter.
At least they get severance.
At least they get some severance, yeah.
I mean, hell, we've worked at jobs that they didn't get. They lay you off and don't give you anything. Like, we don't have to. Sorry, boy. These people would hate PA. They'd have to,
Yeah,
they're not babied.
Pennsylvania can be pretty brutal. Florida's like Pennsylvania. At least you get a couple of months of unemployment if you get laid off. But like Florida, I think it's like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's really bad down there. So that is strike one. Strike two is because of the layoffs. There's been a massive drop in revenue, according to Elon Musk. No, this isn't just about him laying the employees off. This is about the far left losing control of Twitter. That's what this is really about.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's all. Because that's their mouthpiece. For all we don't have freedom of speech. We don't have democracy. I'm worried about the elections. They're worried because this was their literal mouthpiece.
Yes, and Twitter, like we said before, maybe a lot of normies don't use it, but it has an inordinate amount of influence over events, over the media, over pop culture. I mean, so much of the weird shit that we've been seeing going on in the country and entertainment and all of that, the media, can be tracked back to Twitter. You can track it back to Twitter, and he's cleaning house. And look, I don't expect Twitter to do a complete 180, but I think the intention is to roll it back to what its original intention was 10, 12 years ago and be a place for everybody with some light rules in place to make sure that you don't, physically threaten people or dox people or any of that kind of crap. He said it's extremely messed up. He said it has a massive drop in revenue since he acquired it a week ago. Extremely messed up. They're trying to destroy free speech in America.
You're new, aren't you? I mean, they've been doing this for a while. Anytime somebody anytime there's a convention or something and someone doesn't like somebody there, they try to do what they can to get their payment processor to kick them. They are constantly doing this shit. And you know what? A lot of times it's like a group of people with like a bunch of different accounts and stuff calling and harassing, and they are allowed to do that. It's not okay. It's shitty. It's ridiculous, but they get away with it.
Yeah.
And then as long as advertisers, cave over, and it literally is usually just like a tiny group of people. And they're gonna make advertising decisions for millions based on a tiny group of people. As long as they do that, they're gonna be beholden to these tiny group of people.
So this is interesting though, because they actually make his point for him. They said, well, advertising was 89% of Twitter's revenue last year, but he's rolling out an $8 a month subscription plan, which means the subscriptions could dwarf advertising. And we're finding out that advertising supported media isn't working out very well. Roku is not doing very well with it. I don't know how Netflix is going to do. And I said in the video last night, when we're talking about Warner Brothers, everybody's going all in on advertising supported tiers and the ad rates are dropping off a cliff. You have to have something to sell.
Right.
You have to have a product. You have to have something people are willing to pay for. And if you can give them a cleaner, better Twitter that's fair and you can filter out the fuckheads, people are going to pay for it. Because $8 is for the price of a cup of coffee.
That was the joke. But I'm just like, I'm just getting tired of a small group going around causing so much damage and they're allowed to do it. Whether or not you agree with Musk or other people, the fact that, these people go to the Target and go to the advertisers or go to whatever and try to, cut the payment processors out or whatever. It's really shitty because it's just a small group of people trying to make the choices for everyone.
All right, so here's the class action lawsuit. Man, this just keeps getting better.
Well, this one we figured was coming. There was no way it wasn't coming.
Yeah, the legal action comes as Twitter notified employees on Thursday that they would have to find out via email on Friday whether or not they still had a job. The lawsuit, which seeks class action status, alleges that Twitter failed to provide advance notice of mass layoffs as required under federal and state law. The U.S. Worker Retraining Notification Warren Act. When did they put this in? Okay, California's Warren Act is the same requirements. Requires employers to provide advance notice, typically 60 days of mass layoffs or plant closings.
Well, is this only in California? Because I can tell you for a fact they don't do this in a lot of places if it's federal.
Yeah, I can tell you the places I've worked, and I've worked at places that were blue collar. Now, what they might do to sidestep it, there's probably certain criteria that has to be met. Because every place I've worked where they've laid people off, blue collar settings, they usually lay off in groups. So they're probably like, oh, it's technically not a mass layoff. We just laid off a bunch of people over the course of like 6 months.
So I was like,
Yeah. The suit was filed in federal district court in San Francisco on Thursday on behalf of 5 current or former employees. The complaint seeks an order requiring Twitter to comply with the Warren laws and also block the company from soliciting employees to sign documents that could give up their rights to participate. Look, this isn't his first rodeo. He's bought several companies. He's done this with other companies. He knows, I'm sure. He knew this was going to happen. We even said as soon as he buys...
Everybody knew it was going to happen.
He said as soon as he buys Twitter, he's going to have to clean house. They're going to do everything they can do to destroy it because you can't drive a demon out of a person without there being drama, right? And Twitter's infested with freaking demons and they're being driven out. But, if he broke the law, then... Maybe he's willing to pay it. Maybe he's like, okay, fine, I'll just settle.
Or he'll just severance them out and then be done with it.
Yeah, just pay you off and see ya.
So this is interesting too. I found this funny. So they said they would notify employees by 9 a.m. on Friday, which we said. Mm-hmm. The company's offices are closed Friday to help ensure the safety of each employee as well as Twitter's systems and customer data. So they basically didn't give him much heads up, said, okay, what's happening? We're locking you out because they knew that someone would go in there and mess something up.
This could actually be it could be like, I'll just give people severance or whatever, or do the bare minimum to comply with the Warren Act because it's going to damage the company more to have these disgruntled activists
left alone
with the keys to the candy store.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I learned. The one company I worked at in particular, we dealt with government stuff and we had access to government stuff. And when I got gone from that position, I was locked out of the system immediately. Everybody is because you cannot be in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, you can't. That's part of the deal with the government that they have is that any employee that quits on their own, gets terminated or laid off or whatever, they are locked out of the system immediately. And it's kind of unceremonious because it's like literally you have a conversation with your employer, then you're out of the system. In a lot of cases, that particular place, they wouldn't even let people really put a notice in. It's like if you gave notice, a lot of times, depending on your position, they would actually get rid of you like that day. Like we can't have, depending on what you do. If you're dealing with the data, they're like, we can't have you in here, for 2 weeks. It just putzing around. It's your liability. So see, in some cases, employers actually will pay you. It's like, okay, you gave us 2 weeks notice. Either see ya and we're not paying you, or we'll pay you for the 2 weeks yet, and that's
right.
That's it. So yeah, this is going to be an ongoing drama, but he has to do it. He had to know this was going to happen.
That's why he locked everybody out.
That's why he locked everybody out. That's why the badges don't work today, because he knew there was going to be retaliation. So what's interesting, though, is The Wrap put this article out last night, weirdly enough. And they actually agreed with a lot. This is the Hollywood paper. They actually agreed with a lot of his decisions. They said the $8 verified badge fee, they said there's a reason to be wary, but the outcry is excessive. Paid verification might backfire, but it's worth trying.
Agreed. Because it's not, again, you don't have to pay to be on Twitter. Contrary to what the people who blue checks, mostly, these people are shitting their pants about. They're saying, oh, it takes away freedom of speech, No, it doesn't. You still are on Twitter. You still have the same guidelines as everybody else. You still can talk for free.
Yeah.
If you pay for the $8 a month, you get the blue check and then some other things that you don't have on the basic. It's like the same if you bought a basic Halo package or one with extra channels. You still have the access. In this case, you're getting it for free.
Yeah, you can watch your NBC, CBS, ABC,
Right, I'm just saying,
pay for Showtime.
Right, it's the same thing. It's like you're not losing anything. You're getting the exact same thing you had before. And the people that are losing their shit the most are people with the blue checks because they're mad because they're not going to be so special.
They're not going to be special. I talked about Vine. They said it won't do much. Let it stay dead. Do something else. Content moderation. They were surprised that he actually is putting together a council to deal with extreme cases or lay down some rules. Again, that's not going to make people on the right very happy because it seems like so far all the people he has announced are on the left.
Well, it's not going to be people on the left happy either because they just want to be able to ban people because they said so. They want to be able to flag someone for something and have immediately banned and not have counsel,
Yeah, there's no other side to it. Paying content creators are trying to create something that might compete with TikTok and YouTube. The deleting inactive accounts. Now, this one's going to be really interesting. Twitter doesn't need to be a scrap heap of social media misadventure. Purging dead accounts would add vibrancy to the network. What's going to happen is we're going to see people that had millions of Twitter followers suddenly get a lot of them gone because a lot of them are inactive, dead, fake accounts.
Well, you think that both sides would be happy about that because you have both sides arguing that, oh, it's bots. It's bots. It's always bots. It's Russian bots.
Russian.
Okay, well, fine. We're getting rid of the bots. We're getting rid of dead accounts, Shouldn't that make everybody happy?
Yep. Now, they're like mass layoffs. Cost cutting makes sense, but they're like having to pay exorbitant consulting fees to ex-employees when you need their expertise. Less so. No, I think he knows what. I think the people he's keeping are the people he needs to keep it running. And I think he's going to bring his own people in. I said that since day one. He's going to gut this company and probably move it to Texas.
He had people waiting probably to go in. Yeah, he's had access to stuff. I'm sure he had people trained, ready to go. The
lawsuit and all that stuff. I mean, I'm starting to wonder now if the whole thing wasn't just stalling for time until he had the right. You know what I'm saying? And he's been talking to Jack Dorsey the whole time. So who the hell knows? So let's see what Twitter's actually saying about it. They have a hashtag Twitter layoffs.
Okay, this is gonna be fun.
All right. Reminder. Twitter employees worked with the government to stifle free speech. Hashtag Twitter layoffs. Elon Musk fired the entire team that identified the Twitter algorithm amplifies right-wing voices over others. That's not true. Amplifies right-wing voices.
No, remember that one chick showed up and said that she did the study and it was they were amplifying. I'm like, bullshit, they do. Like hell they do. Anytime there's a large, and again, before people lose their minds, they're gonna be like, oh my God, you're outright Yachts. Not even Republican. Just from the middle looking at this, fairly. I've seen some major accounts that were, right-wing, Trump being one of them, get banned from Twitter. Yeah. But you don't often see the same on the other side.
It's very, we have literally seen instances where two people have said effectively the same thing, and one side, depending on their political affiliation, one side was punished and the other was not. Recent example, Gina Carano and Susan Sarandon.
Yes, exactly.
Basically the same thing on social media. One of them got blacklisted from Hollywood and the other one is beloved.
Right. It's a double standard. And I'm sorry, anybody looking at this rationally is going to see that.
So now it's a race thing. He's punishing black employees.
How? How is he punishing black employees?
Because they called out that Adam Baldwin. The cry bullies currently hand-wringing over Twitter layoffs have smugly signal boosted and shit-posted crap like, haha, you'll never work in this town again. That's true. Won't celebrate people losing jobs. That's true. But welcome to inflation and the recession. Learn to code better. He is not his brother, that's for sure. Lisa Bloom, Twitter employees, do not sign anything when you're laid off. Consult with an attorney.
I would agree with that. No matter who you are for what other job, I would agree with that.
Ooh. I know, I get this one. Hashtag Twitter layoffs. Sorry for your lost jobs. You're young enough to recover. May I suggest a book named Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh.
Again, sorry, not sorry. Your treatment of opposing views was horrible, plain and simple.
That's true.
Who Moved My Cheese
You've talked about before on here.
Is a book that middle managers bust out every time they want to kind of change direction at a company. And they're like, sometimes the rats in the maze are trained to go after, but it's the rat that learns to find the cheese and not memorize the maze that gets the cheese. That's basically the book. And it's like, so it's a cliche. It's a trope. It is. Watching Elon Musk firing the hell out of Twitter employees and pulling a Stewie Griffin, where's my money, bitch, to AOC and other smug liberals has been a dream come true. People complain about Twitter laying off people. Loved it when people got fired for not taking a vaccine.
That's true.
That's true. They were literally, and I remember it wasn't that long ago, guys. They've got this whole amnesty bullshit. But I remember a year ago, they were like, you should be fired and hopefully you die. But first
but now the Atlantic's like, we need to forgive everything that was said and done.
Everything.
All the basically, you need to forgive us for all the shitty stuff we said. When our point of view was, look, if you want to take it, take it. If you don't. And I'm not going to vilify you either way. Is where we came from,
yep.
But not Twitter.
So this guy works for Twitter. Guy, girl, they, them. I don't know. Looks like blue hair. I have no idea. Girl, maybe, possibly. As already started, happy layoff eve. Happy layoff eve. Democrats are ballistic because Musk is laying off workers. So let me before we go any further with this, and that's basically all the same thing, right? It's not just Twitter. I want to point this out. This is coming from the information.
What's been going on? Twitter's is the latest. We've been calling this out for a while.
I actually tweeted the other day, I am concerned about Indiegogo. Because Indiegogo, apparently I'm hearing, there were rumors that they were blacklisting projects and all stuff, but I'm also hearing that they're not responding to emails and that the people that are usually in charge of comics projects and stuff are non-responsive. Now, this kind of happened with Substack too. Substack was going all in on comics until the venture capital ran out. And then the next thing you know, whoopsie doopsie, we're not really doing comics anymore. And actually the people that were spearheading that initiative got gone after a year. And they didn't really tell anybody. They just kind of went poof. And this is happening too. They said, be happy if you're a tech worker with a job. Maybe you should learn to mine. More and more people in the industry are losing theirs. Today alone, the information reported that online banking startup Chime was cutting 12% of its workforce, 50% Twitter.
Opendoor/18%.
Opendoor, 18%. Zillow, Oracle, they're all cutting. Everybody's cutting.
We've been reporting on this for a while now. First, it was like the journalism and the blogs, and we kept saying the tech crunch is coming, tech bubble's bursting, and Twitter would technically be one of those, caught in that.
They said that a lot of it now is companies are not allowing people to work remotely. So employee resistance to return to the office may lessen, particularly if people realize that staying at home may mean doing so without a job. There are already signs of this. Fortune reported today that LinkedIn research out of Britain shows the number of jobs advertised as remote had fallen to 12% in September from 16% in January. I mean, at this point, there are companies closing physical locations to save money, but it's also going to be a case of beggars can't be choosers. And we went from having, employers beg people to work for them because they weren't going to go back to work during the pandemic or after the pandemic to now you're going to be lucky if you can find a job because everything is cratering. It's kind of that long tail. Like it's basically the pandemic, the shutdowns are starting to catch up, and people, it's like you should have made your money when you had a chance. And Twitter, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where you're going to go. That's the thing too. Like I would suggest as an old dog who worked in tech, I would suggest working harder and trying to keep that job because I don't think you're going to find another job in tech anytime soon.
No, and being lazy and not showing up half the time and like bragging to Project Veritas, she worked like 4 hours that week. Probably not a good thing.
That probably helped sway his decision a little bit.
But the flip side, 12 to 14-hour days, 7 days a week is also not fair or realistic either.
No.
I'm going to be fair here. That's also kind of BS all,
Well, maybe he promised them a spa day and cookies.
I don't know. I'm just saying, no, they promised they get to keep their job. And I mean, that's kind of shit. I'm sorry, but it is.
This is the new reality. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm not condoning, I'm just saying, like, this is a guy that I've, lived through recessions and ups and downs and whatever. Silicon Valley is in for a very rude awakening. There's been
a lot of pampered people over there.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
We've been saying for months, go back, watch some of our videos. We said winter's coming. Winter's here. It's here.
You see these buildings they're working out of, like we saw with the building for G4, or we saw with Crunchyroll and some of the other buildings. They were getting these like ridiculous perks. Like it was they were babied so hard it was ridiculous. And then some people worked harder, and a lot of people just didn't come in half the time or didn't try. And you can't continue to do that. You're going to have to follow the money, not follow the upvotes. Upvotes don't pay for you to be there.
Yeah.
Thumbs up don't give you food. I'm sorry, don't pay your rent.
It's his company now. If you don't like it, you guys can scrape together $44 billion and maybe he'll sell it back to you. I don't know.
I don't think he will.
I don't think he's going to. We got to wrap this up.
Yep.
All right. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.